Hey, Plus Sides community, before we jump into the podcast, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and share if you haven't already. This helps us get referred up in the algorithm so we can find more people that need our help and guidance from our doctors. Thanks so much for supporting the show. Let's jump in. If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper, with results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster, confidence higher, price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sides Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sides Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sides Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sides Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault. Welcome to the Plus Sides Podcast.
Here we go.
How's everybody doing? This is applause in sign language.
I know.
That is a thing for me, by the way. I have a bucket list. 1, swim with dolphins. And 2, I want to learn sign language. We're glad to have you here. This is a definitely evolved health and wellness podcast where we talk about everything. I mean, related diseases and disorders to obesity. So, type 2, we talk about all of the things like PCOS and insulin resistance and just like all the things in the land. And we are so glad to have you here with us. We bring on experts, anywhere from like dietitians to doctors to GPs to nurse practitioners, all this different stuff like nutritionalists. We're just talking about all the things, cognitive behavioral therapists, because we know that what a lot of us have learned and going through this journey together on GLP-1s is that it's actually all about health. It was never about weight. It was never about weight. The weight was the symptom. The weight was the symptom.
Yeah.
Right? So now we're treating the disease, which is solving those symptoms. But what about all those things that come with it? Right? What about the mental piece? What about the movement piece? What about the nutrition? Like, how do we live our best full lives? Right? I hope we drive change. I don't know what that looks like, but ultimately, I want some change to happen. And you know what? Right now, it's not big change. It's not, here's your medicine for less money. But I don't know about you guys, but I get messages, I would say daily, if not several times a week, about how this podcast has changed their lives. Like, because of the things they've learned here, not because, but just the way they used to talk to themselves and the way they used to think about themselves. And the things they've learned, and the combination with the medicine. So, we may not be making a huge change yet, but we are making the little changes, which if you add them all up, pretty big change,
Those little dents,
change.
gonna lead to a nice big hole.
Yeah.
Where we can throw the PBMs down
the hole, or at least friggin' regulations for these buttheads. I can't and it's a PBMs. Anyway, look, it's Dr. Matea Rentea. Hi, Dr.
Hi.
And another Dr. Ali Novitzki. Say it for me.
Novitzki.
Got it.
Novitzki. Look,
I have to make it sing-songy.
Okay, sorry.
We're glad to have you here at our crazy little podcast. So for our listeners as well as viewers, this is going to be roundtable discussion, and we're going to be talking a lot about debunking a lot of the junk out there. Like that zepbound is different from Mounjaro. Like
People swear it is. I know.
I think that's what we call. No, I'm like, look, I'm not a doctor, but what I do know is that the FDA says they're the same. So I'm okay with that, Well, we've had Dr. Rentea here before, but first, Dr. Rentea, if you will tell us a little bit about who you are and how you help people, because people haven't seen your other episodes. So because
First of all, I love this podcast so much. So if anyone's new to me, I'm Dr. Rentea. I'm a board certified internal medicine and obesity medicine physician, and I have the Rentea Metabolic Clinic. It's a telehealth practice for residents of Indiana and Illinois. And I'm really passionate about helping people with their metabolic health. It's not just about shape shifting, but really to feel better. And that takes more than just a medication, things like that.
That's so true. Yeah. What about you, Dr. Ali? Tell us a little bit about who you are and how you help people.
Well, I love this. And I just want to thank you so much for having me on this podcast. I say that because what I do, so I am an obesity medicine physician. However, I did start off as a intensive care doctor for newborns. And then what happened is my passion really is all of the things that we do talk about in obesity medicine. So nutrition, exercise, cognitive behavioral therapy, and then really the addition of the medication has been a game changer for so many. And so I became board certified in obesity medicine. And so I really help individuals instill the lifestyle parameters of obesity medicine. And so one of the things that's really unique about my practice is that I can work with anybody in the entire country because I'm focusing on exercise, nutrition, and mindset. And then I partner with doctors like Dr. Rentea, where she's the doctor prescribing the medication. And so it's a really nice, beautiful way to be able to support the community. And also I love it. Like, I just love it so much that I can't believe this is what I do for a living.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. I love it. They're so informational. I straight obsess over this stuff. So
I love it.
Clearly.
Dude, we're just like,
we all do, because you can't like be sick your whole life. Right. Yeah. Or for a long time. Right. If it's not your whole life. And then all of a sudden get better and then the brain get better sooner than the body gets better. You know what I mean? But then, there's a lot of work to do, and we'll talk about that. And then like we tease that we're GLP-1 evangelists, because we're all like, hallelujah, because it's when you realize like that you were just sick and now you can do all the things you always wanted to do, but you just couldn't get it done, or keep it in play. And now you can. And then it's like, all you want to do is tell other people that are suffering, that don't know and are like beating themselves up every day all about it, because there's so many of them. And, it keeps me up. I'm not going to lie. It keeps me up. The people that don't know, Anyway, I digress. So lovely to know. Thank you so much for sharing that.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
So let's get started.
There you go, Kat.
We're going over all
you got a question.
The bull crap that's floating around all the GLP-1 community. People say this and people say that. First and foremost, the one that like just grinds my gears is muscle loss. Everybody's talking about, and I have seen doctors on some doctors on maybe commercials on my social feed say Ozempic causes muscle loss. A GLP-1 causes muscle loss. Is that just standard muscle loss because if you're losing weight? It's been my personal experience that I have put on quite a bit of muscle, but I want to hear it from your two lovely ladies' mouths. Is that BS?
Is that BS? Oh, BS or not BS? That is the game. Today I've decided.
Yeah, it's crap.
Yes.
Crap. It's
That's
crap. It's crap.
Okay.
It's crap. Yeah.
Yes. Crap or not crap? Better.
Yeah, totally.
Better even. I love it.
It's super interesting because I'll tell you, about 2 years ago when I was running one of my programs, which was all women physicians, I got this frantic message from one of the physicians in my group. And she said, "Oh my gosh, did you see the study? GLP-1s and muscle loss." So my programs are very heavy in the strength training and in nutrition. And so I was like, don't even this is not a thing. I'm not worried about this. So let me tell you something. Without being on a GLP-1, if you're not strength training, and we can talk about kind of the recommendations because I'm all about minimal amount. If you're not strength training and if you're not eating adequate protein, for every pound of weight that you lose on the scale, up to 24% could be lean mass. Okay, that's without a GLP-1. So the issue is that with GLP-1s, a lot of individuals that are going into doctors who are not as savvy as Dr. Rentea, who is giving the recommendations on the protein, they're not hungry. A chicken breast doesn't sound that great. They're not eating the protein. They're not strength training. And so by default, they're having the same amount of loss as you would without one. However, we're now blaming the medication because why not?
Why not? It's nothing like villainizing something that's actually working and threatening lots of billionaires in America.
And I think, Allie, you can speak to this too, but I mean, I can share literally 2 examples from this week. So it's really interesting. Both of us use in our practice body composition testing, right? So for example, and again, Allie, you could talk much more about this, but the InBody scale, there's a home version that's very accurate. And I have so many patients where let's say they think that the weight's not going down, things like that. I literally had someone this week where in the past 3 months, they lost 6 pounds of fat, put on 3 pounds of muscle. Now, again, that's not typical for everyone, but majority of my patients, in fact, all of them that are tracking, no one is ever losing maybe over, like maybe here and there, I'll have like a 10% loss. And again, it's usually someone that can't get enough calories and we have to work on that. We have to slow down the med pace. We've got to, there are steps that we have to take if that's happening. But again, majority of them, we're really getting creative with how we get the protein and we do have to work at it sometimes. Like sometimes people have different food aversions on the meds or they get sulfur burps or like different things happen. But when I'm following the data, it's astronomical how many people can maintain or gain. I didn't think it was possible until I was tracking the data. So Allie, what do you see? Because I think you've even longer than me incorporated that in your practice.
Absolutely. So the really cool thing, and again, you're going to learn this really quickly about me. I'm all about simplicity. So I'm going to give the bare minimum for everything that I know will work. So basically over the past several years, by me just recommending 100 grams of protein, and that's just over 3 servings a day. If somebody wants to fast, it's a serving and a half twice a day. So 45 grams twice a day to get to about 90. And there's studies, like there's a study on Navy SEALs that showed with their intense amount of training, as long as they're getting 100 grams of protein, they're really not losing a whole lot of muscle mass. In my practice, that's what I see. As long as I'm able to have somebody hit the 100-gram mark, I am not seeing muscle loss. And then when we add the basic minimum amount of the strength training, I'm seeing muscle gain, actually.
Yeah. Wow.
And what is your minimum amount of strength training?
So glad you asked because
I know the answer. I know the answer.
I've been playing with this for years now. I've gotten it down to 10 minutes, 3 days a week. So 30 minutes a week.
Wow. I do 10 minutes, 5 days a week now. Now it's just a kettlebell. There's nothing crazy, but like
that can them in pounds if you'd be doing your body composition testing. So Allie knows this because I work with her, but I'm like, I've been gaining muscle with the 10 minutes 3 times a week. And in fact, if I do more hungers up, I'm losing it, but literally don't discount the kettlebell. Like it doesn't need, like, it's not insane what you're doing.
Yeah. It works good for me. I like it. I could do it in my office. It's very quick. Like I do it, I start my day, and it's nice to be doing something with my hands, if that makes sense. Like I find because like I'm on the internet all the time because businesses, right? It's like, it's, when you're, like when you're an advocate, like you're doing all the things in all the places, right? But if I have to stop myself And so like if I can clean, or I also clean too, like that helps too. I just go and I'm like, I'm going to clean everything in here. And then I just go at it. And I hate cleaning, but I love it because when I'm doing it, I'm for like letting my mind go, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot of things that I feel like these are things I never did before, these medicines. But I was also just, I think just really hurt all the time, all the inflammation and the weight and the bones and the joints. And like now I have so much more mobility in general. One of the doctors recently we had an event, and one of the doctors mentioned, like, don't ever discount like your own body weight being a way to strength train, like using your own body weight.
But what about resistance bands? Because I have a little mini stepper and it has the bands. Now,
oh, that's cool.
Will like that be strength training, or do you actually have to have a weight?
It's absolutely strength training. So one of the things that I do with my job, that's why I say I have like the best job in the world, is that I travel to conferences and lead mind body workouts, and they're all strength training. We don't use equipment. By the end of those 3 days, people can't walk. And so I'm just, and they can't walk because I'm so energetic and I'm talking and I'm excited. So maybe I'm moving faster, but the point is this, like, this is strength training, pushing your hands against your hands. This is strength training. This is an isometric movement. Isometric exercises have been shown to be the ones that actually increase our strength the most. So this whole concept of you need equipment, you need time. Nope. Not really. So resistance bands, you're actually doing more than is required, right? You're actually adding additional resistance. So that's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what I heard you say is that Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, Semaglutide do not eat your muscle. That's what I heard you say.
No,
right?
It does not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Because I'll stick of that. Yes. I have some deeper questions though. Someone made a joke recently that they were like, if you're 400 pounds and you need to lose weight on a GLP-1, don't worry about muscle mass right now. You have a lot of fat to lose. And it got me wondering, I mean, I don't think it was anybody, but it got me wondering, like, in terms of muscle mass, do you need the same amount of muscle mass when you're in a smaller body that you need in a bigger body? Like, because I don't know about it, right? Like, I'm thinking like you have like, I feel like more muscles to carry yourself around, right? In this bigger body. Do you need the same amount when you're in a smaller body?
I love this. Can I just offer something? And I'll keep talking all day long. So like you can,
sure.
Like,
okay.
So I want to offer this. Individuals who have had to carry around more weight, this is a body positivity thing. You actually are going to be blessed with an increased amount of lean mass. So whether you need it or not, why don't you just keep it? Because then you're going to have like some guns, you're going to have like some amazing muscles. Your VO2 max, your ability to like hike a mountain is going to be out of this world. So I don't know if you need it, but why not keep it?
Okay. I like that.
I like that.
Might as well keep it. I'm all about mind shifting. Like, I just love that kind of thing. Like,
maybe makes me think I guess that it's a comment or a question, or would be a comment. I was, over 300 pounds at one point in time, but I always loved fitness. And I used to think to myself, like, wow, how much muscle is true. You know how like when you have this popular misconception, if you're heavy, you can't move. If you're heavy, you're not limber. Honey, like I could smoke you in class, but that's interesting. So I guess at the same time, and this might go into the deeper questions, like how does that affect you? You know how like when you have insulin resistance, it's working in your body right now, but I'm still like so diet culturing and working out like a nut bar. Like I was telling myself, does it combat any sort of insulin resistance at all? Or was I just fooling myself?
No, it definitely does. So actually, the more muscle you have, the more insulin sensitivity you're going to have.
Okay.
So in other words, it's the idea of, okay, this is how I like to explain it because I like to simplify everything. So imagine you have a lot of muscle mass and you go ahead and you do a strength training routine. Okay. So you're using up all the glycogen stores and all your muscles. Okay. So let's say now you finished your workout, it's time to eat. So you're going to eat a meal, but you already got rid of all the glycogen stores in your muscles. So what happens is you eat a meal And you're going to have some insulin response with your meal. So insulin is going to be it's a storage hormone, right? So the first thing it's going to do, it's going to push all the substrate, all the food, the glycogen and all the good stuff back into your muscles. So the more muscle you have, right? So if you have this huge pool of muscle to bring in all of that substrate, you're not going to have a whole lot hanging out to go back into the adipose tissue. Okay. So in other words, what happens over time is that you're going to need less insulin to do the same job. And that's the whole idea behind insulin resistance. You need a whole lot more insulin to do the same job. And insulin is going to be inflammatory. It's a fat storage hormone. So actually one of the best ways to improve insulin sensitivity is going to actually be strength training and gaining lean muscle mass.
Oh. Guys, the other thing that no one's asking, but I feel like we need Ellie to talk on, people might think, okay, I'm coming from a larger body. I'm losing weight. No big deal. I'll lose some muscle as I'm doing it. Like you said, Kim, right? Like that's the big deal. But when you know how hard it is to gain muscle, like Ellie, can you talk about those numbers again?
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Let's say that you lost 20 pounds of muscle this year. You lost 100 pounds and 20 pounds of it was muscle, right? Like how long would it take you to put it back on? Because I think that gives you perspective of why I'm fanatic about eating your protein and doing strength training and keeping it.
Yeah.
100%. And so this is really interesting. And so a lot of times when individuals will say, well, I'm on the med and like, I'm not losing anything. If you actually ask them sometimes like, okay, listen, like, have you done a body comp? Because as Dr. Rentea is saying, the idea is that to lose muscle mass is actually kind of easy.
Wow.
It's actually pretty darn easy. Gaining muscle, if you are a woman over the age of 30, and particularly if you don't have just the right body type, Dr. Rentea actually has she's like bionic. She has like the perfect body type to gain muscle and she puts the work in. So that's why she's having like ridiculous results. But the idea is that to lose muscle is not hard. To gain it is very difficult because many of us don't have the body type that's actually going to put the muscle on naturally. So it has to be a mesomorph muscular body type is going to be the easiest body type. And here's the other part. And this is another body positivity thing. If you are in a larger body, having a little bit higher of a body fat percentage is also going to help you gain muscle in the beginning. Okay. So the advantage points would be, if you are carrying some additional body fat, now's the perfect time to do some strength training because you're going to be at an advantage to actually gain muscle. And so then as you lose weight, right, potentially, we expect some muscle loss, which again, if you are strength training 10 minutes, 3 days a week, and if you are eating 100 grams of protein, right, we can probably keep that 10% or less, which is what we allow. If you do that, you will preserve your basal metabolic rate. Okay, so you're going to continue to lose body fat. And then the other part of this is, eventually, because you'll have that good basal metabolic rate, if you are eventually in a place where you're like, okay, I lost all the weight I want to, I'd like to do a little body recomp right now. I'd like to actually gain some muscle. You're still in a position where you're metabolically active and you're going to be able to feed yourself in a way that's going to promote more of a building of the muscle. But to do that, I'll say this, even with the ideal body type, a muscular body type with enough body fat and eating enough food to make this happen, the average woman over the age of 30, maybe they can gain 6 pounds of muscle in a year.
Wow.
6 pounds.
Wow.
Muscle.
Fancy.
Wow.
I'm not talking about like a CrossFit athlete who has professional coaches that are training them and they're taking all the supplements and they are eating in a massive surplus. I'm talking about the average woman who is fit and goes to the gym and, you're doing your best with your protein. You're listening to the people. It's not your full-time job though. So that average person, if they're really putting the effort in, about 6 pounds.
Wow. Unbelievable.
This is why, like in my mind, when I'm working with patients, I think it's a whole hell of a lot easier to just find a way to get the protein in than it is for years. You think the weight loss is hard for years on the back end, you having to do that other work. No one's wanting to sign up for that, right? And then the bigger challenge, the thing practically, like how does this relate to everyone else is like, you're going to gain the weight back. So if you're losing a bunch of muscle, you don't want to gain the weight back. So this is the thing you have to care about. Like this is literally like 2 things for you to be successful on it.
I eat way more protein now than I've eaten in my entire life.
Me too.
I'm telling you, I never paid attention. I probably ate like a little bit of protein and carbs and fruits and whatever. Other than when you diet, you know what I mean? And you're like, everything's measured out for you and all the things. And I've been doing that since I was 8. But I would say like the amount, and I think it's gotta be helping, but like, it's interesting because I will tell you, my struggle has always been getting in enough calories. It does not matter what dose of the medicine I'm on. It's just how the medicine works with me as a mental thing. I have to force myself to eat. And I don't mean force myself to eat like, I have to sit down and commit to a few bites. And then I find my body lets me eat. It's like, oh yeah, that's what we're supposed to do. Okay, let's do this. And then I can go, but getting over that hump for me is a mental like thing I fight every day. You know what I mean? Wow. But I for sure always prioritize protein at every meal that I have. Everyone. I snack and whatever it is. But I never, I think the hardest part for me is that I don't have an emotional relationship to food anymore. And that has been bizarre. Awesome for me because like that for sure contributed to the binge eating disorder, but also like really different. Like there's just so much mental work I think to do with these medicines like we were talking about before. But yeah, thank you so much for clearing that up for us. I feel like we had several sort of like nuanced questions around the muscle mass thing, but it's really good to know. It sounds like we'll try not to worry about it so much. Like go in, prioritize your protein, trying to get in 100 grams a day, which is what, like 30 or 40 ish per meal, right? And then try to do 10 minutes 3 times a week of strength training.
So easy.
Just simplify it.
When we talk about body recomposition, and maybe you can touch on this later, like what are some of the best ways to recomp our bodies, because they're completely different from, I know my body is even different from when I was like in my 20s or in my 30s.
So where did our butt go is the question. Where's our
butt? My butt is gone.
My butt's gone.
I know where mine is.
And I know you know where your butt is on fire.
Yes.
You guys, Kat's butt is amazing because she does butt
doing
stuff.
standing right now, but go ahead.
We caught one of your TikToks about increasing GLP-1 hormone. So could you expand on this beyond the limited time that we have on TikTok?
Yeah, it is brief.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. So many good things. So I can definitely hit on the body recomp, but I'll honestly say, as long as you're willing to do it for the long haul, if you can just continue that protein and continue that 10 minutes, 3 days a week, you won't even have to work at recomping. You will recomp. Right. And honestly, the way that I design programs, I'm typically for women over the age of 30, I'm making sure we're hitting the glutes like crazy and that we're hitting our upper back, because we tend to definitely deactivate upper back and we deactivate our glutes. So that's one of the biggest things.
Those are definitely deactivated for me, doctor.
I mean, and it's easy. And a lot of,
I don't know where any of them are anymore. They're gone. Yes.
So, so all this stuff, anything that you can do to activate your body is going to be helpful. It's the idea that if you're suffering with, and I don't want to say suffering, but if you have obesity and I tell you to eat some Brussels sprouts, it's not going to be enough. Okay. So I'm going to share ways that you can increase your GLP-1 naturally. I'm just saying that's not what I'm prescribing.
Right.
If I want to help you have healthy metabolic health. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think it's worthwhile to enhance your GLP-1 naturally. Some of the reasons for that will be, do you want to stay on the med? Will you be on the med lifelong? Do you want to keep the lowest dose possible? Okay. So there's a lot we can do where you can say, hey, listen, like I will prescribe you the medication. You will be on it for your life. And that's okay. This is going to help your metabolism and your metabolic health stay healthy. And there's some things you can do so that we can kind of get you the lowest dose, so that we can extend your dosing interval, or we can do whatever we want to do. But the point is, with the GLP-1, increasing it naturally, one of the fun ones, and I'll hit it right off with Brussels sprouts. So it's actually the bitter receptor. So we have a bitter receptor. So GLP-1 is actually a hormone. It's produced in our intestines. The idea is that this bitter taste receptor, once we activate that bitter taste receptor, like we're going to have activation of GLP-1. So we're going to have GLP-1. And the other thing that Dr. Rentea pointed out is that GLP-1, natural GLP-1 that you're producing in your body, because we all have it, the half-life is very, very short.
It's 2 minutes. I looked it up before. 2 minutes, and it gets broken down by DPP-4, which is, like a lot of the diabetic meds will be, that's another thing that we're targeting, right? We're targeting GLP-1, DPP-4. So anyway, I just want to say 2 minutes, right?
2 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
Well, I still lack Brussels sprouts.
I know, and I totally. So broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, things like that. So that's going to be a way that if you incorporate them into some meals, you might find greater satiety.
Yeah.
Exercise. So exercise is one of the ones that increases the amount of GLP-1 naturally by a landslide. I'm talking like hundreds of percentages, like 700% in one study. And so how much you ask? And I would just say, move daily for 10 minutes, right? And not strength training, but, get your steps in. So any kind of activity you can do is going to naturally enhance GLP-1. Hydration, believe it or not, actually enhances GLP-1 naturally. Protein enhances GLP-1 naturally. Stress management. So we like to ignore stress and we like to ignore sleep. We're like, oh yeah, well, sleep and stress, those are negotiable. Those are non-negotiable. Okay.
The stress one, Doctor.
Yes. Stressing. Yes. So kind of finding a de-stressing practice, right? As you can tell, though, there's a lot of different things that you would have to do to really kind of keep pumping out that GLP-1. And then if you talk about supplements, some of the biggest ones you'll see are going to be things like, you're going to hear berberine brought around a little bit, right? You're going to hear allulose. Allulose is actually a natural sweetener that's been shown to significantly increase GLP-1. But again, like it's what Dr. Rentea said, it's not going to be there for that long, but it's going to enhance it. And then the other cinnamon, coumarin, like things like that. But again, the impact for somebody who actually needs to have obesity treated, that's not going to be enough. It's going to enhance, right? But it won't necessarily be enough. This would be good for somebody. Like if somebody says, I don't qualify for the med, what do I do? Well, let's start with some things that we can do. And then let's see where we get.
Yeah. That's so interesting. Talking like around the deficit area and people with obesity, I've been eating more resistance, right? We've had a lot of doctors come on the show that sort of are of the mind that we don't even need to call it obesity anymore, that we need to have a different word for it, like a definition. And one of them most recently, who's an obesity specialist, said, we really should just focus on it just being a GLP-1 deficit. Like that's, like if we wanted to, like what you'd like to do is oversimplify, right? It is that. So I'm curious what you guys think about that. If you have an opinion, should we call it something different? Like how can people understand it better? I don't know, with the change, I can't help but wonder if that would help the society piece,
Well, it's quite often in medicine that we'll recategorize something. I want to give you a different example because everyone's always here when they think about weight. But so for example, if you hear the term chronic fatigue syndrome, that used to be, a thing, like a term that we would use. Well, then now when I was going through training, they used chronic exertional intolerance syndrome, right? So it was like they wanted to basically highlight, like, this is actually what these people are going through. Like, they can't handle this. Like, just exercise every day and increase what you're doing. They actually burn out really quickly. Like, they need to lay down for 2-3 weeks, like, depending on who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it comes to this, I remember when I was going through training, and I can't remember what the letters stand for. Maybe you remember, Allie, but it was like, they wanted to call it like A, B, C, D, E. I can't remember. But basically the bottom line is they wanted to call it like an abnormal adipose disease, right?
Yeah.
Like some fat tissue, right? And that's ultimately what's happening in obesity medicine, right? There's either metabolic derangement from abnormal, what the adipocyte, the fat tissue is secreting, the hormonal changes in the body. And then there's biomechanical, which is like, physically, I'm getting sleep apnea, the throat's collapsing, I'm getting osteoarthritis of the knee, the knee's collapsing with arthritis, so it's like, we probably could change the name. Would it help with stigma? Possibly. I think we're heading toward those things, but I don't know that really the term obesity is not that old. It's, what was it, like 2013? I want to say that it became actually recognized, right? So we're not that far into it, but I think people are starting to understand it's an actual metabolic thing. And this is not willpower. This is not a decision. Actually, I work so much with patients on that. And instantly when they start the meds, they say, I get it. I get what you mean, because I never chose that before, but I didn't realize that because I judged myself. I don't know, Allie, if you have any further thoughts on that.
No, I love that. So I get the idea. We definitely have to continue the work with the stigma. And I think that obesity is such a complex disease that we almost have to honor it in that way. And so it's kind of like we do. I would love a name where people could, because I sometimes even when I say obesity, I'm like, I'm not, it's kind of like, it feels a little bit like not perfect for me. And the other thing too is just, I mean, what you just said, Kim, just about not having that emotional attachment, because it is in our brain, right? So it's in the brain, and it's GLP-1, but it's also GIP, right? So Mounjaro and Zepbound, it's hitting two different, parameters to help with it. So I love how people are thinking on it. And I love how together we're coming to try to decrease the stigma, and it's so complex.
Yeah. I will tell you, there's something about this. And I think that and I'm curious how you guys feel, but like saying that I have obesity or that I am obese was very, very difficult for me. And that term itself, because when I would go and look at my paperwork, leaving saying that I was grossly morbidly obese, I can't even tell you what that like did to my brain, And so for sure, I was like, well, I've tried everything. There's nothing I could do about it. And then I just sort of shut off, And I just wonder if there's like just a way for like us to understand that it's more complex. I just think that as people that struggle with it, that are not medical experts, it's very difficult. And I think some of us have said, let's call these anti-obesity medication treatments, right? That's been something I've been hearing kind of bop around on TikTok, anti-obesity. And like weird thing. So I had the termite guy come by. If you're watching it, it's weird, but you were here. And he hadn't seen me in a year. He comes by every year to check the termite things, And he was like, you've lost a lot of weight. And I'm like, thank you, man. Like first, yeah, these are facts. I was like, yeah. And he's like, how much? And I was in the middle of like a meeting upstairs, and I was like, because I needed to like get back, and I was like, about 100 pounds. I was like, over the past like 18 months or so. He's like, well, that's the way to do it. Good for you, or some crap like that. And I just looked at him and I was like, and he goes, how are you doing it? And I went, anti-obesity medications. And he just stared at me and he goes, oh, like that. And I just stared at him. I just was like, I got no time to explain this to you, buddy, but I'm not going to lie to you. This is what's happening, And he goes, well, keep it up. And I wanted to punch him in the throat so hard when he said that to me. Nobody should ever say keep it up, ever. Because someone who struggles with obesity like this, like, and that term and the disease and the shame and the blame and all of the different things, we have had people tell us that every time we've ever been on a diet and lost weight. And we're also hearing, and I've asked a lot of people about this, that you haven't lost enough yet. So here I am, 100 pounds lighter, right? My health is in such a good place, other than the fact that my butt ran away, and for whatever reason, this man thinks it's okay to talk about my body at my house when my husband's at home, regardless of that. Like, it was so weird. And it happens, that kind of crap happens all the time. Right. And what I think is interesting is like, going back to like, and we'll go into like the gaining it back thing, but that's part of obesity, right? Is the chronic piece of it and the gaining weight back. So that's why I just like wanted to like see if there's just a different way to refer to it so that we can refer to the treatment better, so that other people who just don't get it, people who are not trained or do not either have obesity or really love someone that's seen them struggle with obesity, they don't get it. When you talk about food noise, they're like, you can't just stop eating? Like, they don't get it. So they automatically go, you must be less than, you must be weaker than, you must be sadder than, you must be. And of course, then we, of course, internalize all that, because if people who love us think that, then maybe that's what we are. And it's just, I just think and we're trying to change that on the podcast, right? Like that we're asking hard questions and having hard conversations about it to try to at least drive a narrative in the direction of, I don't know, innovation, change. So
yeah, I will say one thing in medicine where I don't ever in my notes use like morbidly obese, like those type of terms are not used anymore. We have grossly morbidly obesity, right? So we have different classification systems and ways of using it. I'll tell you this though, only recently did it make its way into the EMR where I could even pick it as an ICD-10 code. That's how as physicians we pick what it is. Yeah. And so literally the world might evolve to some point, but has all the nomenclature made its way into the EMR? I mean, it's it's complicated on many levels, but I think that these conversations, I'm hoping that, like, let's say in 10 years from now, that we're just in a radically different place. It's just like high blood pressure.
Well, this is what I'd like to offer as like a different perspective.
Yeah.
You have people listening on your podcast right now who maybe don't meet the BMI criteria for obesity.
Yes.
And they have obesity.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tell me more about that. Yeah.
So the idea, right, is that, okay, so we know environment and we know genetics. Obesity is hugely genetic. Okay. Like it just is. Okay. So my point is that, individuals who maybe are in their younger years and let's just say don't meet the BMI. And by the way, I do not like BMI, but they don't meet the BMI criteria. They don't have obesity, right? Like quote unquote. And they do though, because in their patterns, their entire genetic makeup has already predisposed them. And eventually they're going to see the symptoms of, they just don't see the symptoms of yet. So I think what's interesting is that, people can sit around and shame other people and they might be sitting there with the same exact disease.
Someone said, well, never should a doctor say that you have obesity just by your BMI. They should be like measuring you and like measuring your thing. And I'm like, I am 44 and I have yet to have a doctor ever do that to me. And I've had this weight issue forever. I do remember this shift as a little girl because genetics, right? Back to your point. I swear I'm going somewhere. Is a little girl, and I was always tallest, like biggest. I was thick, I was almost 10 pounds when I was born. Big human, And I remember people being like, oh, like that's just her baby fat. Like I would hear that all the time. She just hasn't lost her baby fat yet. That went on for a long time. And then about like the age of 8, that was when my middle sister was born. And my mom was trying to lose weight and she went on a diet to lose weight and I went on it with her. And from there on, it was up and down my whole life. And I think I remembered Dr. Rentea saying recently that like 70% of your weight is genetically like predisposed or something like that. Isn't that what you said? 70%.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a really high percentage. So people think they have this, that it's their free will and they have control over it. But it's like, Kim, I always share I'm the same as you. I mean, I was in kindergarten. You can see the photos of me next to my sisters and I'm just larger. And it's like, I remember loving the snacks in kindergarten. That's like one of the only things I remember.
Yeah.
We would make a stone soup and this and that. And I remember that's the highlight. And like, that's genetic, right? When you're remembering the snack in kindergarten, I mean, come on, right?
Yeah. That's like the emotion, like the dopamine that you're like registering right from that moment. You know what I used to do? Everybody else wanted the celery. By the way, celery, I may try it again, but I've always hated it because it's yuck. But I would take remember like the little logs, like we would put the peanut butter in and the raisins. Yeah. And I would just be like, oh. Hey, whatever. That's protein and fruit. I don't hear nothing.
I'm on go to the falsehood talking about Ozempic face.
Oh, yeah.
So people say not just like actually losing weight and making your skin loose. People say that taking a GLP-1, like, I don't know if it like dries out your skin, sags your face. Could that just be we just need to use more lotion or, Kim's neck cream?
This is just ridiculous, right? So anything weight, you lose sub-Q fat. So when you think sub-Q is underneath the skin, right? It's very visible in the face. So I want to take you all the way to an extreme example. Think about the cancer patient that's dying. Unfortunately, a lot of us have had experience with this, right? Mm-hmm. They are cachectic. You see their forehead. They lose this muscle, right? They're losing this. They're losing everywhere, right? So anytime you're losing a pronounced amount of weight, it's going to be everywhere. So all the skin, like you're losing the cushion underneath. I want you to think if I took the pillow out of your pillow, what's just the sheet going to look like? That's the skin. Okay. Right. So that's for everything. It's not a cream that you need. I think the best thing you can do along this whole road is make sure that you have like a variety of foods. You have good the micronutrients is the word I'm looking for. And ultimately, some people might decide sometimes as we get older, we're not able to look the way that we want. Some people will use fillers or get Botox, but this is a problem for all weight loss. It is not unique to GLP-1s. And I think it's quite vicious, to be honest. Again, it's another attack on the GLP-1 community, right? Always, it's for all weight loss, but we're just seeing it much more commonly. And so that's why they say this.
Yeah. It's weight loss face, right?
Because there's no winning with them, right? Like these people that want to do this and spin this narrative. So before we were overweight and that was unhealthy and we really needed to do something about it, but there was no tool. And then now people are actually doing something about it, but that's a problem. And now you've gone too far. And so there's never a winning, right? So this is like the definition when a group is really marginalized, women, overweight, like you name it, we are in that marginalized group. And so again, it takes time to change the narratives on these things.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're trying. That's why we're talking about the hard things here.
Yeah. And it is just like a little pebble. When you throw it into the water, it's little, but maybe, ripple.
Yeah.
Will go far and wide.
If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
We hear that there are phases to weight loss and that many of us are hung up on numbers on the scale. However, there are other actual phases to weight loss. Could we touch on those phases?
Yeah, I love talking about this because nobody talks about the third one. That initial rapid weight loss that everybody thinks is supposed to be sustained throughout all of their weight loss is just not all that exciting because honestly, all that it is going to be a whole lot of glycogen stores, a whole lot of water, little bit of body fat at first, not a ton, little bit of muscle maybe. And so they see the number on the scale and they're like, oh my gosh, I lost 10 pounds in the first week. This is amazing. It's working.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, actually what you just told me is you have more glycogen stores. So you have more glycogen stores than that person who didn't lose all that at first.
What's that? What's that mean? What's that mean? Sorry, I know the audience is going, what?
Like, what is glycogen stores?
Yeah.
So let's say that you have Sally and Mary, okay? And Sally exercises all the time. She eats really clean and she is on a weight loss journey, okay? She's ready to lose some weight. She's going to get her optimal health, okay? And then Mary, all right, she likes to not eat so well. She doesn't really exercise. Okay. They're the same weight. They're the same body fat percentage. They're the same body type. So they go to the same doctor. They get the same med. They get the same diet plan, the whole bit. Let's not call it that. Nutrition plan, the whole bit. Okay. Sally, who does all the exercising and eating well, loses 1 pound her first week. Mary loses 7.
Yeah.
Okay? Because Sally didn't have so much glycogen store, so much excess glycogen store in her liver, in her muscles, in all those things. She's not retaining a ton of additional water.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I just
I know.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's why it's so slow for me. I get it. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's all about this is it, right? Because everyone all day long online, I'm like, stop glorifying the fast weight loss in the beginning. It's not.
It was happening.
I think it's all for me. I don't think fast is good at all.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
No, you said you like fitness, so I'm telling you, your body was doing all the things it was doing. It was working real hard to do all those things. So you weren't going to release a whole lot. You didn't have a whole lot you were holding on to. So then what happens? That's phase 1. Phase 1 is rapid loss.
Okay.
Phase 2 is where the actual fat loss happens. Phase 2 is slowish crap. I don't know if you can say.
Yeah. When we say all the things.
Okay, fine. Oh yeah. Holy shit. It's really slow. And so a lot of times people think, oh, I'm only losing 2 pounds a week. If you're losing 2 pounds that a week, that is way too fast.
Yeah.
You're not.
Okay.
it's probably not fat. That's why it's very difficult for your body to let go of 2 pounds of body fat, pure fat every week.
Yeah.
0.5 is going to be more realistic, right? For people, it's good. 0.5. It is what it is. And it's slow, and you're going to stall, and you're going to have a little plateau. And then the whole thing, it's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So the fat loss phase. So then what happens is your body kind of is going to get happy at some point. And this is the whole thing where hormones start to come into play. Leptin starts to come into play, and you're going to kind of hit your new set point. Okay. During your new set point, because a lot of times when people hit their first set point, they're not happy. They still want to lose more. And then they get discouraged because they're going to see the scale creep up.
Yeah.
So in a normal weight loss phase,
hey, I'm there.
You're going to gain up to 20% of that loss. So if you lost 100 pounds, you could gain, do the math, like 20 pounds could be normal. Like, right. I'm just saying it could be.
Yeah.
Now don't worry about it, because your body just has to recalibrate. You're going to be able to hit that phase 2 again.
Okay.
Definitely. You're not going to go to phase 1 because you're too healthy.
Sure. Yeah.
You'll hit phase 2 again when your body's ready, but we don't know when your body's going to be ready. It could be a year. Really.
Wow. Interesting.
Yeah. Explains
fascinating.
Everything. But in 2023, I think I maybe lost so little weight, but I shrank like 2 pant sizes. So I was like, I'm just going to go with this. Also, I'm a Libra. I'm a strong, firm believer in living my life and still having my wine and my chocolate and my cheese.
Sure.
So I'm not going to give it up.
Let's do all that.
I'm not binging. I'm not having a whole cake, but dang it, I'm going to have a cake.
I just want to be in control of my own choices. Like, I know that sounds ridiculous. Like, you're picking, right? Kat and I both struggled with binge eating disorder. But like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I felt like I had no choice. Like I keep thinking about French fries. Like, I have to, I don't, it's like that pull every single time. And now I can look at them and go, I don't really need that. I had a couple and I'm good. Other people can do that. I've never been able to do that. Those acrobatics in my brain until now.
I think about like when we talk to people from the community and they say, I was working out twice a day and I didn't see the scale move. But I always said, when I had those times, start measuring, take out the measuring tape and start measuring things. How fast, how much is your strength improved? Because that scale is an a-hole.
Yeah.
How is this different from when people are like losing weight? I feel like when people have weight loss surgery, right? And not even like lap band, like I had, like when people have like sleeve and stuff. We've had some bariatric surgeons on the show and they lose weight, like a ton of it, and they lose it like quickly, and it is rapid. And then eventually it kind of starts to taper off for them. Are the phases of the weight loss sort of the same when you're having bariatric surgery as opposed to like GLP-1s, or even just like not taking anything at all and losing weight? Do you still have the same phases?
I see the same phases. I just see it being much more rapid with bariatric surgery because the calorie deficits are so much more extreme. I mean, some people, again, I'm not going to talk out of turn, you're listening to your doctor, but there's a lot of people after bariatric surgery, they're eating like 800 calories. They're not eating 15, 16, 17, 1900, right?
Yeah.
So it's much more pronounced. It 100% applies, because this is actually why I got into obesity medicine. The level of shame that the post-bariatric community has when they regain, it is through the roof. I have my patients had bariatric surgery in the past of all different kinds. The same phases apply, yet they think, well, I had this huge intervention, so I should be like fixed for life. And it's like, no, you're not immune to all the same changes.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to talk about is that shame leads to then binge eating disorder and all the other things being worse, right? So it's like, if you can have some compassion that like, this is a physiologic thing that's happening. This is actually not that I've suddenly gone back to old bad patterns or all these kind of things. And of course, it's always helpful if someone like me or Allie's helping you through it. If you have that, then I don't see the regain be as much or as out of control, or like it goes all the way back to the beginning. That doesn't need to be the case, but you need to know that. Like, I have a lot of patients that they've been, for example, on Mounjaro for more than a year, all of them. Like, once they reached that, like some of them even 31, 35, 40% weight loss, a little bit of a creep up. I'll see about 6-7 pounds, again, depending on how much people have lost, because every month I'm tracking their weight, total body weight. And it's like, if I were to graph it, it's classic. It's that little dip, then they come back up and they're stabilized. It's just,
Yeah. And the mental piece of that, I think, is really intense. Like we have someone in the community who just found out that she is pregnant. So she had to stop. It was a surprise. Stop the medicine, and she's starting to gain some weight, and the mental piece of that, like, wait, I'm pregnant. Like, wait, and like having to shift back in right to that mentality.
Would you believe that I have a lot of patients that stick with me, and same thing with you, Ellie, right? Like that stick with me through pregnancy because they're like, I get I'm not on the med anymore, but I want to continue to have your support. And they want the mental aspect of being supported.
I believe it.
Number one, they don't want to be helped, right? And pregnancy is a normal, natural, amazing thing that is happening. But if you put your whole worth in what the scale's doing, now it's like a ton of bricks that's going to hit you, right? You don't have the time to sort of disassociate yourself from the problem, right? So yes, it's a big thing. Ellie, do you want to comment on that more? I mean, I actually see this a lot with young women that I work with.
Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I love supporting women in pregnancy because I find it to be one of the most effective approaches to heal body dysmorphia and to actually help them develop a better relationship with their body. So we actually go ahead and we flip completely into an intuitive way of eating, making sure they're getting the right amount of protein and whatnot. But we flip more into an intuitive where I actually say your only rule is to ask your body exactly what it wants. And so their body's going to do what it's going to do anyway. We can't control that. And honestly, the mindset work can be so profound during the pregnancy that when it's post-pregnancy and they want to have some weight loss, they're in a completely different space. So they've spent like 9 to 10 months healing their relationship with their body.
Right.
It's a game changer. So I try to find outside the box ways of approaching these types of things. And that's what I promote then. So we go completely intuitive eating, honoring your body, moving your body in the way that it wants to move.
Yeah.
All that.
And like her being up, the only thing I knew to say to her, I was like, do you have any idea how much of that is fluid? Like, friend, it's okay. Yeah. And you're going to grow up because you're growing a human, but she's been battling obesity for her. She got PCOS, type 2 diabetes, like her whole life. She's been battling it forever. So, I think she just got down. She got married, got down to this little weight. And I was like, bam. Right. And I think that it's just like, it's so hard when you've bounced like this forever. Right. And then you finally find the thing that works. And then you're going to have the amazing miracle. And it's wonderful. We all know that. Right. But at the same time, it's like, what does it do? And I think that's a really good point.
There's a lot to be gained with that work. And honestly, unless there's a reason, most people aren't signing up for that program.
Yeah.
That was actually my story. Like, I think that's actually when my works. I know this is going to sound funny, but when I got pregnant, I very soon got gestational diabetes. And I mean, from 1 minute to the next, I was changing how I was eating, what I was doing. I was walking. And of course, it was like I had this external thing driving it. But at the same time, I had such shame that I'd gone into pregnancy so overweight. Like I was over 150 pounds overweight and interacting with the medical system. And it was just such an opportunity for me to learn to love my doctor and learn to show up for myself in a way that I never had. It's like, I'm going to start crying. It's like, it's a really beautiful thing. So I want people to know that if you've spent a lot of time losing weight, you've loved yourself tremendously. That's the best gift you can give yourself, your baby. You made yourself a really healthy vessel. But even if you're starting out and you were like me and you didn't know it and that happened, again, all versions work, but the work is that you have some trust in what's happening.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. I think that when you hit like stalls and plateaus and all that, and I've hit all of them, and sometimes it's hard for me because I see my friends and I know they hit stalls and plateaus, but I had them for months. And so I've lost 100, but I have other friends who have lost 150, 200 pounds in the same amount of time in 18 months, right? They've lost way more than me. And I, for sure, I'm like, is it because I'm not eating enough? Is it because I'm not, or whatever it is? Like
Are you comparing?
I am. I do it all the time. Yes. And then I will look people straight in the face and go, don't you compare yourself to other people in our bar. And I'll be like, but wait a minute. How much is this
name though? Yeah.
I'm like, if you could not do one thing on your weight loss journey and just like
don't compare.
Not ever do this. Yeah. To not compare because it's truly deadly. It's going to stop you from progress.
Yeah.
You never have the same journey as someone next to you. I know we all do it, but just remind yourself, let that be the trigger to me to work on not doing that. Like this.
Yeah, the trigger. That's a really good idea.
Rule, not again.
5-second rule. 5-second rule. You drop the nugget on the floor, but you can pick it up if you blow on it. But yeah, that's something that I remember, like when I would have those moments, I'm like, okay, but right. I would chicken nugget, pick it up. Right. And I would be like, okay, what's changed for me that it's still worth it to keep doing what I'm doing aside from the weight? And I would break down like the obsessive anxiety. I would break down, the fact that I'm not like driven to like have to eat the fry. I am in control of my choice. I can say no and then not constantly think about the fry all night long that I didn't eat, right? That power, the power of having that back and being, I don't know, responsible and accountable for every choice I make or don't make. Like at least if I ate all the fries, I would be like, but I ate them because I wanted them and I was hungry and that's what I wanted to eat. Right.
No.
But I don't know why I keep going back to French fries. I guess that's what I think about when I think about, I can't stop eating. Right. But like things like that, like I just want it. You have to think about the other things that the medicine is giving you, I think, during those plateaus and stalls and all of that, because if not, you'll do the comparison thing like I did.
Yeah.
And you won't pick up the chicken nugget.
I always bring up, it's like if I were to hand you on a platter, be like, look, in a year from now, you're going to have lost 100 pounds. You're going to be doing this. You're going to be doing that. You'd be like, yes, kid at Disneyland. Right. But like when you're in the moment, we forget that perspective. Right. It's like, I think we all do it, but it's good work.
Yeah. And the thing I'd like to offer.
Yeah.
If I may.
No, go
is,
away.
Of course. Is that, I think we can agree to agree that you have impacted at this point hundreds of thousands of people. I think we can agree on that. So you're not supposed to have a short journey.
Yeah. Sorry, it's not over yet. Too bad.
It's too profound. Your impact is too profound. So there's more you're supposed to uncover to share, I believe. So I would say that a rush journey for you would be a huge loss for many people. Sorry.
No.
Okay. You take it. You have a little teary moment. I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to get science.
All right, you ask that question. It's science.
But I feel that.
I like it. Yeah. We touched on it earlier. I wanted to ask like the definition of both of them. Like what is insulin resistance? And then what is leptin resistance?
Okay. Well, I know Dr. Rentea can also talk about beautifully. I'll start.
Like tag team.
Totally. So I'll talk insulin first because leptin is the one people like to have a lot of fun with, but yet very few really understand it. Believe me, I'm
not sure people understand the insulin resistance.
We'll talk about them all, but I'm going to simplify. Super simple.
I love it.
Yeah. If we're using obesity as a diagnosis, only 2% is actually medically treated. 2%. Okay. So if anybody is like, saying like, oh, well, look what's happening. And now they're getting treated. Yeah. There's 2% of obesity that's actually getting treated. So imagine
then you mean
medically.
Okay.
Yeah. Medically.
Wow.
So my
2%.
2%
medically.
Just too little.
Yeah. But that just goes to show you, 50% of our country, right, fits that criteria. So I wanted to put that out there. Insulin resistance. This is a really, really fun one. So insulin is made in the pancreas, and insulin is actually really useful. A lot of times we're like, we hate insulin, but no, actually insulin does something for us. The idea is that insulin allows us to have a normal blood sugar. Okay. So when we first kind of get started, let's just pretend, unless somebody has type 1 diabetes where they don't have any insulin. So let's just say you're born and everything's working properly. So when you're consuming substrate food, your blood sugar is going to increase. And because of that increase in your blood sugar, you're going to have a release of insulin. Now, different macronutrients are going to cause different release of insulin. For example, carbohydrates are going to have your highest release of insulin, whereas dietary fat, there's going to be the lowest release of insulin. When you combine foods, protein, carbohydrates, and fat, that's going to be a very nice normalized insulin response. So what happens with insulin resistance? Insulin resistance is when our blood sugars are kind of high all the time. And a lot of times this can be due, again, genetic. There's going to be a huge component of that. Also, sometimes like how our diet in America, potentially we eat a lot of processed stuff, higher carbohydrate, lower fiber. And so over time, the blood sugar can be higher. So you're going to have more and more insulin being released just to take care of that blood sugar level. Okay, so that's how the resistance develops. So think of resistance like the insulin that used to work to bring your blood sugar from 120 to 80, that amount doesn't work anymore. You now need double that amount to bring your blood sugar from 120 to 80. So that's insulin resistance. And so what happens is insulin is anabolic, meaning it helps with storage. So yes, it helps store our muscles up. So again, when we were talking about after you eat, after you worked out, yeah, you're going to have an insulin response. And yes, you're going to push some into the muscle, but anything left over is stored as fat. So insulin is highly fat storage. Okay, so again, if you can imagine it, if you have a lot of extra insulin because you're insulin resistant, you're going to have a higher tendency to store body fat.
Oh.
And does that also affect your appetite? Like, say, is this what it is? Like, so I remember when I would have like a full lunch, I eat a sandwich, a whole, like, I always want lots of vegetables and meats. And then 20 minutes later, why do I want another frickin' sandwich? Why am I so
delicious?
hungry? They were delicious. Yeah.
And it could be
that would be insulin resistance, right?
Well, potentially. So dependently, right? Because like then you have this big surge of insulin and then all of a sudden it hits you, your sugar is going to drop, but maybe your sugar isn't dropping to a normal range, but maybe your sugar is dropping by 20 points. And for you, you can feel that fluctuation, which is kind of, we call it hypoglycemia hunger. However, here's the other thing that we don't talk about too much. There's also people who hypersecrete insulin. So you can have somebody who just produces more insulin naturally. And so they tend to drop their blood sugars a lot quicker. And again, they tend to get hungrier quicker, right? Because it's kind of like, it's this whole thing because you're dropping the sugar. You're like, okay, now I'm hungry, but maybe you're not really hungry. And so, and Dr. Rentea, you can add to that, but that's kind of how I explain it.
No, I think that did it justice. It's just the way I always say that, like, to just add to what Ali said, the machinery is not working properly anymore. So when people want to use the same tools of like, just decrease your calories, a lot of people, like you were talking about, Kat, like their hunger's through the roof and it's not controlled by an appetite suppressant like phentermine, right? Like a lot of people, phentermine is more stimulant based, right? It's an oral medication. It will work a few months and then they're like, I'm back to where I'm hungry and it doesn't work. Like it doesn't work long-term. Otherwise we would do it, right? And I'm not saying it's not a medicine that can be used in certain scenarios.
Sure, yeah.
But the point is these things need to actually be addressed at a metabolic level. So whether that's taking a medication, whether that's nutrition change, whether that's exercise, whether that's stress reduction, because actually stress is one of the stress hormones that actually does have a part with leptin and insulin and all the other ones. So they're actually, none of these are existing in isolation. So what I often see people do is they want to take a little lab study and they want to take this one hormone out and they want to be like, this is what it does. And I'm like, here, friends, like they all interact with each other. They're all in play within the body. That's why obesity is so hard. So I don't know
why it's so complex.
So complex. Yeah.
See?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's why we need specialists and we need more of them.
We need more of you.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
More of you too.
Yes.
We do.
More into and like clone yourselves.
It's very difficult, guys. You wouldn't believe the stuff that we see on lives. Like
I do, Kim, because I stopped going on them because it scared me. And I was like, I can't even be in the room to be privy to hearing this stuff.
It keeps me up at night. The people that come in and they're like, oh my God, I was just sick in the hospital on Wegovy. And I'm like, okay, like tell me what happened, right? Because we're not doctors. We just say, how can we support you? Like as people individually, right? And or I'll say what I heard from doctors on the show. Like that's how JT and I do it. And so they'll come in and go, oh, my doctor couldn't find the medicine. So he started me on 2.4 of Wegovy.
Yeah, literally.
Literally, that's the kind of it is not every now and then we get that crap all the time.
Okay,
We started at 1.7. We've never been on GLP before. What?
Yeah, let's say someone new is listening and they don't understand why we're all having this reaction. There's 5 different doses for Wegovy, and that's saying each dose you're on weekly for a month. So it's saying they just skip to month 5, and your body kind of needs time to get used to these things. You might even need more than 1 month on a certain dose. So to just go to the top, but you know what that speaks to? Again, it's clinicians that are not experienced with these meds. I mean, primary care doctors like them, anyone can, and they often do a great job. I'm not putting them down. It's just, you got to know what you're doing. Like when you restart a med, when they've been on the highest dose and they're going to something else, that makes no sense, but they don't know how to cross titrate a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah. I mean, think about Eli Lilly is doing more education, right, for practitioners.
I hope so.
They are.
And that's the thing I see. Everybody wants not everybody, that's total generalized statement. Often people want the next dose. And what I'll say, and where I've seen my people have the most success, is going to be going super slow with increasing that dose and really establishing those lifestyle parameters.
Yeah.
They're going to literally exactly. And honestly, this is the person who is going to be able to ride out the lowest dose for months. Yeah. And I usually say, ride it out until nothing is happening, or that hunger is really coming back to a degree that it's super uncomfortable. Then we bump it. Right. Yeah. But I think there's a lot we can do, because and this is what I'll say, that medications are not the easy way out. I would actually say that you have it's a commitment, right? Yeah. And so you're committing
a long-term commitment.
It is.
Yeah. Commitment. We have to honor that. And so what I say is kind of like, listen, you've already invested in your willingness to do medication. Let's optimize everything. Let's optimize everything.
Yeah.
Because you're already committing to yourself. So let's just do it all.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because, so many people are in a rush, and I get it, because
it's diet culture, guys. That's what this all comes down to, right? It's our society. They've been telling us forever, rapid weight loss, this, and that. Like and it's also, I think, what is expected. I think when people are like, oh, you're on this weight loss journey, but like, let me tell you something. I've told people to come and ask me what I'm doing before when I lose like 20 pounds. And if I tell them I'm on Weight Watchers, none of them go, you're going to gain it back. None of them say that to me. Right. But these dumbass people on the internets come on and say that junk to me every stinking day. And it drives me nuts, which leads me to my next and maybe final question until we just talk for a while. But what about the regain itself? So we hear a lot about people going into maintenance and staying on a certain dose. I think that a lot of people say things like, there's not enough long-term studies to know how this helps people. You really don't know what this is going to do to you if you don't have type 2 diabetes, all of that different stuff. I feel like that's something we need to talk about, what's real about that and what's not. Do you guys have opinions?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I have two things I want to say, and then I know Dr. Rentea is going to have good stuff. The first thing I want to say is that there are, I want to say, 4 times the amount of, so obesity, let's just say the diagnosis, it's going to be 4 times that of type 2 diabetes diagnosis. So what does that tell you? Well, eventually type 2 diabetes, right? So our culture doesn't love preventative health, right? No. So the idea is this, it's kind of, I was going somewhere really important with this, and now I can't really, it's not going the same way as I imagined it in my brain. So I'm just going to skip to the part that I really did want to talk about. Okay. And that was the idea of medication and the weight regain. Well, one of the questions that comes up is leptin. And so we didn't talk about this, but leptin resistance, somebody cannot have any insulin resistance. And somebody could have this pattern where they essentially have been dieting their whole life. There's no insulin resistance that they can tell on lab. They're not centrally adding adipose tissue kind of centrally, which is a lot of times where we see insulin resistance. And what we notice is that what you would expect them to lose weight on, they're not losing weight on. So you might give them a 1,500, maybe it's somebody who weighs 300 pounds and you're giving them 1,800 calories and they're losing nothing and they're consistent. Yeah. And so a lot of times what happens, it's actually leptin resistance. So in the way that it's easily explained is that fats that our body fat makes leptin. Okay. So if you have enough body fat, you're going to have plenty of leptin. And what happens is your brain doesn't recognize that you have plenty of leptin. It's resistant to understanding that you have enough leptin. So your brain actually thinks that you're low on body fat stores. Also, and leptin, when we think leptin is low, then a lot of times the ghrelin is going to increase, which is the opposing factor of leptin, which makes us hungrier. So now you have plenty of body fat, you're starving, and all you want to do is eat, and you can't understand why you can't lose weight. Well, what happens with leptin resistance is it drives down your ability to burn energy. So to find, everybody argues about this calories in, calories out. It's way more complex than that. But what I will say is fine. If you want to really go ahead and really go head to head on this, okay, great. Let's go ahead and let's make somebody with leptin resistance lose body fat. But we're going to need about 500 calories for about 6 months total to be able to
like shit. What? 500 calories a day? A week?
The amount of energy that they expend because of the leptin resistance. Because again, this resistance makes our energy burn go down significantly. The deficit, maybe it's a deficit, but the deficit isn't sustainable. So but this is what I want to say. I'm getting to my point.
Yeah.
If somebody goes on medication, now the treatment for leptin resistance is fat loss. Mm-hmm. So if somebody goes on a GLP-1 medication, they lose fat and they become more leptin sensitive, which can happen.
Yeah.
Okay. I've seen plenty of cases where people are off the medication and they're maintaining just fine because they committed to 90 grams of protein and 3 days of strength training at 10 minutes.
Right. Yeah.
Here's the thing though. They might have the mental chatter come back. And I have a lot of people that restart based on mental chatter because the quality of life is so much better.
The quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dr. Allie, I think that's the main thing that I hear with people. It's that they finally had a place where it wasn't like a second job that they had, where they had to maintain how much I'm eating, when I'm eating. Like I just had someone say to me how they went on a road trip and they were like, for the first time ever, they didn't need to think about what did I pack with me and where are we going to stop and is there going to be food? Like she was
there'll be enough food. Well, I like it.
Right? She was like, I can't believe that that's cleared. I think here's my thing. I think, so you were asking about weight regain, right? So I love all the physiology that Allie provided. Here's the thing I want to say practically that I see with my patients.
Mm-hmm.
The weight regain potentially can be less, but you've got to be willing to keep changing things. And so I think people think when they get to maintenance, yes, you keep doing the habits that you did, but that doesn't mean you're not going to still regain weight. And so if you want to be that mythical unicorn that's going to keep it and maintain it and not change within reason, right? Like 5 or whatever pounds up or down, whatever you decide your range is, then you're going to have to keep innovating and adapting. Meaning maybe you still do the 10 minutes, but maybe the intervals are up to the strength that you're using. Maybe you're now, instead of walking, you're running the 30 minutes. But something's going to have to change. I do not see people be able to just do the same thing and maintain. They are usually naturally changing things. If you really deep dive into their stories, they're changing the types of foods they're eating. They're changing how they're moving. They're getting more active on the weekend with their family. So if you really looked at it, they are changing a lot to be able to even maintain where they're at. That's the only thing. So people think I'm there, I'm good. Nope, you actually need to keep changing because your body gets smarter with what it's doing.
Yes.
Wow.
Interesting. I mean, I guess that tracks. I mean, it's something I'm going to have forever. It's why I won't just rule out weight loss surgery because I have no idea if, when, ever, how I may have to pass my check.
I told Allie this at the beginning of working together. I'm sorry, Allie, to share a moment. And I just sat on a couch with Allie at her retreat. And I was like, look, whatever tool is needed, however it's needed, right now this is working, but and Allie was like, I don't think you're going to need that. But the point is it's really whatever tool at whatever time.
Yes.
And being open. Allie, I want to give this back to you for a second, because you talk a lot about mirroring the journey. And I think I never understood this. I'm smiling because recently I had my own scale trauma. And Allie was like, trust the process. And she was talking me through a lot of things, but marrying the journey means, and maybe Allie, you have other thoughts on this. Here's how I've internalized it, that there is no ending. I'm going to love everything I'm doing. I'm always going to be figuring out, listening to myself, trusting myself, using whatever tool is needed. That's very different than we've reached the summit and we're done, right?
Yes.
Then you're not ever surprised if weight comes back. You're not ever surprised if there's a challenge. Got it. And this is why a lot of clinics like mine, you keep going with them, because you're not just oh, I'm done. It's same thing. I've had the same doctor for the longest time, right? You're not just done. You need their help when these things pop up, right?
Yeah. And I do think that my brain, I have to fight it because it doesn't want it. It's going to throw, I swear, guys, it throws everything at me it can to get me to eat food, and more food and too much food and the not food that's not the best for you and all that kind of stuff, And it does. It'll be we're okay. We don't need to go back to our obesity doctor. Yes, we do. I have, but I can at least gear shift now and be like, the hell are you doing telling me this? That's not happening. But I have those thoughts. We can have more chicken wings. no, we actually can't. We but I think it's just so interesting the pace at which my brain can work now, and I can make those reasonable, rational choices just like that, where I can be like, okay, depends on the tool later. And I'm telling you, my brain is not the kind of brain that doesn't worry about the future and all the ifs, ands, or buts until this medicine. And now I can literally say what I feel like other people have been saying to me forever, which is something like, they'll say, let's cross that bridge when we get to it, or like all of those different things, or you can't really control those things, or you're worrying about things that probably never even happen, or, you're just worrying a bunch for no reason and things like that. I didn't have that switch before, but now I can. And so it's easier for me to be like, this is going to be a lifelong thing for me. Like, what can I do to be able to continue my learning, and continue the process and continue the treatments and try to like help other people do the same,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's amazing that I've never been able, I don't know how to describe it except for that it was like I was a car, right? And I only had drive, and drive was consume, right? And now it's like I can reverse and I can steer the wheel. I have a wheel too, and like all these different things.
Go into neutral.
It's in neutral madness. I can just shift and have some chicken wings. Clearly, I'm hungry. I talk a lot about fries and chicken wings tonight. That's also what I do when I'm hungry. My brain's like, what do we like the most that I know we can eat the most of right now to get us the food that we need? And they're like, chicken wings, French fries. And I'm like, no, we don't. That's another thing too, is like, I'll go, this is interesting. I'm sorry. But like, I'll go, I don't really want that. Like, I would rather have some Brussels sprouts, because that's it. I recognize that that's just like visceral. Like, like it's just like a natural thing within me that my body's just trying to say, we need to put food in us now, because I don't have that normal like hunger thing that I had before. I don't have the food noise before. It's totally different. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating. Clearly.
It is.
I made a podcast about it. But this has been a lovely conversation. It's the ladies, I want to make sure you've had a chance to ask any questions that you have, and also make sure that our doctor friends have had a chance to say everything that they want to say. I'll probably have you back on. Let's face it.
Covering everything.
I mean, everything.
I just want to say I love what you're doing. I can feel the community within the community that you've created, and TikTok is brand new to me. Honestly, Dr. Rentea was like, okay, so why aren't you on TikTok? And I said, what? So you have to like shake your booty and twerk? I don't know.
I mean, you can.
And then I'll be honest, it's really kind of given me a different view on how I can even serve people better. So just realize, you're inspiring us. So just keep doing what you're doing. It's so needed. And honestly, I'll tell you this, in our lifetime, you're going to hit a certain age, everyone will, and everyone's going to have an obesity medicine doctor, because we're going to be looking at genetics saying, hey, listen, when you're 32, this is what's going to happen. So let's get you on one now. We're going to prevent blood. And so it's going to be, obesity medicine is the best field of medicine. I'm convinced.
It's definitely fascinating.
I agree with you, Rashad.
Completely.
Yeah. It's like, I do. I also think so.
So, yeah.
It is amazing how big TikTok is and how much it's exploded with all of these people. And, but honestly, like 18 months ago, it was null. Like when I got here, there was no one that was on Ozempic, no one that was talking. I was on Saxenda. Nobody was talking about Saxenda. There was only the Mounjaro because the savings card, right? And that's how the community really got started. That's what it was. And it exploded from there. But still, it was like maybe 100 people, it was like even that. This has been so great, guys. Thank you so much. I'll for all of our friends listening who want to know more, I'll make sure that I link their TikToks and their bios and websites and everything, especially if you're needing care in any way. So like where they can operate, and you'll have all the resources that you need, because that's also what we try to do here. So thank you so much for joining us, ladies. And I am going to now exit you so that we can talk behind your back.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Oh my God, that was so good. Did you learn lots? I learned so much. I love it.
I loved the fact that Kat had an aha moment.
It was like
that.
Kat was like, what?
I
Yeah.
was like
Because all I did was I've always compared myself. Like I know number one, the reason why is because I believe in always balancing my indulgences. So I did not give up chocolate, wine, snacks. Like I just don't binge on them anymore.
Yes.
So I always thought like, oh, well, I suck because I'm not losing as much. And then it was the comparison. The way she broke it down, like the reason why it's so slow for you is because you already have this muscle mass on you. What?
It's already there. Yeah.
Wow.
Fascinating, right? Yeah. I had a feeling she was going to be a good one for you. Dr. Rentea was like, I think that we should just debunk all the things. And I'm like, all right. Do we debunk all the things? Is there anything we missed?
Almost all of them. That muscle.
I think that we debunked like about 98 to 99% of it. And
I love that 2% stat. Only like every time someone says that we are like people on these medicines are causing the economy to change, 2% of people with obesity are being treated. 2%. No,
that in your pipe.
That's not enough to do shit. Sorry. No.
Put that in your pipe and what, Kat?
Okay.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. All right, ladies. Well, as usual, it's been a lovely conversation. And we will see you guys next week. Hasta la pasta. Bye. If you're like most of us, you've been denied a GLP-1 at least once. But did you know that less than 1% of denied claims are ever even appealed, even though the data suggests that over 60% of appeals are often approved? That means that people who should be paying $25 a month are instead paying thousands of dollars a year out of pocket, not necessarily because appeals don't work, but because the process is confusing and time-consuming. But that's where Honest Care comes in. You go to their site, and then you just start with a quick assessment. And then Honest Care will build your appeal with the clinical and medical arguments that your insurer needs to hear, and then guide you through submitting it. If you've been denied, don't stop there because most appeals must be filed within 90 days. So don't wait. Go to findhonestcare.com/Kim to get your free assessment today. That's findhonestcare.com/Kim.
Want the fastest working GLP-1? For half the price, Ro now offers FDA-approved weight loss injections cheaper. With results you can see faster. Lose 15% of your weight with the formula from Eli Lilly that hits not one, but 2 hormones to curb hunger and nausea. Weight loss faster. Confidence higher. Price cheaper. See if you qualify at ro.co/TV.
Are you interested in understanding GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, or Mounjaro? Then join us on the Plus Sidez Cracking the Obesity Code, the groundbreaking podcast helping people change their lives one episode at a time. The Plus Sidez Podcast is a disruptor. We're breaking down barriers, smashing stereotypes, and sharing inspiring stories that'll leave you feeling informed and empowered. Join us every week to learn from doctors who are specialists around GLP-1 medications like Ozempic, Wegovy, and Mounjaro. They'll provide you with science and facts to validate these incredible stories. But that's not all. We'll also bring you the voices of the GLP-1 Mounjaro TikTok community, real people who face the challenges of obesity-related diseases and disorders and discovered the incredible plus sides of GLP-1 medications. Our episodes are filled with heartwarming stories, laughter, and moments of triumph. You'll connect with our amazing community members who are reclaiming their health and experiencing their fullest lives. Are you ready to embark on a journey of discovery and empowerment? Tune in to the Plus Sidez Cracking the Obesity Code, and together we'll change the narrative around obesity and end the stigma. Subscribe now on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform and join our incredible community. Let's celebrate the plus sides of life together because every story deserves to be heard. Every life deserves to shine, and everyone deserves access to expert knowledge and medication. The Plus Sidez Podcast. You're not alone. It's not your fault.